Hey everybody, Cam from Inky Knuckles here, coming at you on our Wednesday show once again, trying to be a little more regular with the Wednesday show. Most Wednesdays are the most recent streams we've done. Mr. Troy Nixie has kind of been co-hosting, hosting, interviewing other artists, mostly artists within our group. But this week, we decided to just do a quick and dirty art show and tell with some banter with some collector pals of mine, a couple guys I've known pretty much since I've started collecting. So without further ado, let's introduce these fine young gentlemen, starting off with the only remaining White Sox fan on the planet, Octavio. How you doing, sir?
How are you?
He was giving me some major heat about the Jays and their lackluster playoff performance, and then things twisted on the White Sox as soon as he said that.
I jinxed it. I jinxed it badly.
They've got a bright future ahead of them, though. They're exciting.
They do. They really do. So I'm looking forward to that.
So you like the White Sox, you hate screen tones, and
I hate the Cubs.
hate the Cubs. You should get David on here. And you're going to show us some of your non-Hulk collection tonight.
Yeah, some non-Hulk, although it's going to pale to comparison to our third guest.
The man, the myth, the legend. Let's bring him on, Mr. Byron Ham, the mayor of Saskatchewan.
Only in my spare time.
How you doing, sir?
Oh, dude, not too bad, brother. How you doing?
Good. How's the weather? It was snowing in Calgary today.
Well, don't send that stuff our way, man. It's cold here already. It's threatening. I don't want that white stuff. I'm not ready for it yet.
Well, yeah, I was surprised that it came. My little guy wants to go snowboarding already. It melted, but he's ready to go snowboarding. What's the weather like in Chicago?
It was supposed to drop tomorrow, but right now it was like 75. It was windy, but it was nice outside.
Oh, nice.
So it's San Diego weather right now.
Can't complain. It's got a little chill on here in Western Canada, but
yeah, I see you got your winter flannels out already there.
Yeah, I break this out as soon as it snows, so I'm comfortable. I'm right at home right now. So, so tonight, guys, we're just gonna show some art. Octavio's been on before. This is Byron's first go round. Byron has one of the most extensive collections I've probably ever been privy to see some in terms of volume, versatility, and I'm sure a few of the pieces you're going to show tonight are ones that I was with you when you picked up. So
a few of them, yeah.
To preface it with these guys and just the collecting world, I know we've talked about this in the past, just how you go from virtual to being more social with collectors, and Octavio and Byron for me are a big part of that, probably two of the guys I've known longest. And Carlos, which we'll get him on one of these times.
I think he refuses to come on.
I'm sure he's watching right now. But Byron and I, there's not that many collectors from Saskatchewan, Canada, and Byron and I are two of them. I live in Alberta now, but we never actually met in Saskatchewan. We met in Seattle.
Exactly. What was it, riding like the Tim Sale line or something like that back in the day? I
think it was during your Tim Sale Fast Pass, because you got an Ironman, right?
That year, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And I spent my entire show at Tim Sale. It was Essential Sequentials, but my entire show was trying to get Tim Sale pieces, which are awesome.
Yeah.
And Octavio, you're obviously a big Tim Sale guy too.
Yep.
So and you don't have to reveal too much, but what would your Grail Tim Sale piece be?
Oh man. Well, this past New York, I tried to get him to do an homage to one of his Hulk Great covers.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want him to swipe it and redo it as a sketch. So I kind of told him to flip it around, inverse it. And he was having, kind of like a full figure.
Yeah.
And he was having a hard time trying to come up with how to do it, because he goes, the way I did that cover, I did it it was basically this way, just punching down, and it was supposed to be a torso shot. So I never really thought about how to do it a full figure, and it's gonna look kind of weird. So I just told him, like, you know what, just end up doing what you want to do. Just make the Hulk pissed off or angry, whatever. And he did, and he ended up giving me one. It was like he's looking over the cliff, and he's just like raising his arms, just kind of like yelling out, which looks pretty cool. But I think that one cover in particular, that's a great cover that I would like to own, or one of the Daredevil yellow ones. Those are fantastic too.
Yeah, those really are. Do you know where that cover is?
The Hulk one, no, I haven't seen anybody post it, so I don't know if Tim still has it or somebody has it that's in the black hole that doesn't post it.
So could be sitting in Jason's office for all we know.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Was Jason repping him when he did Hulk Ray? I think it was still Mitch.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. He could be right.
Yeah.
Because, I don't have the timeline on it in front of me. I've got such a soft spot for Tim Sale just because, love his work. But I got probably the first big name piece I ever got was him. He was at Calgary, and it was hard to get pieces from him. He was just doing the fast pass thing, and I got we had a baseball tournament. Got rained out in Saskatoon, Byron. Oh. And Calgary Comic-Con was that weekend, so I said, well, I might as well just drive 6 hours and go to the show because Tim was there, and we made the show late on Saturday, and no one was at his table because Calgary's not really an art collecting show per se, and he did me a Batman on the spot. I was beyond thrilled. I almost couldn't sleep that night, and then I doubled down. Jason wouldn't really let you double down if his lists were full. But it wasn't. So the next day I got a Punisher from him too. It was awesome.
Yeah, you couldn't double down unless you needed to fill it. Then Jason was good with it.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Me being greedy at the time, I always wanted to double down because he's one of the guys who can just give you a half hour, lay the washes down, and give you something just amazing.
Well, they were cheap too. Wasn't it like 150, 125?
Yeah.
Back in the day, they're totally affordable that way. And the best part about it was watching them work and see, what looks like a bunch of washes and everything else coming in, and you're not quite seeing the figure yet. You're not seeing exactly what he's doing. And in that last couple minutes, as he has those last lines, all of a sudden it just pops right out. And it's like, holy shit, there it is.
Yeah, it really is. And I haven't hung around. Is he still doing those? I think he is for shows, or I guess whenever shows come back.
He is, yeah, he's still doing them, but they're not as fast passes anymore. Like
more commissions.
It's more commission based, and he'll do them at the show to kind of take his time on them.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, and are you going to show us Grundy today,
Oh, yeah, I do have it. It's actually open up to Grundy, but I was going to show off my other piece that near and dear to my heart. But I'll show off the Grundy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so there you go.
And that was you commissioned that prior to the show, right?
I did. Oh, actually, yeah, it was. It was for New York, and Tim didn't get a chance to get to it in New York. So my buddy Anthony, Anthony, he's the one that I had told him to see if he could swing by and pick it up for me. And he kept checking back on Tim's desk throughout the show, the weekend. And Tim, unfortunately, wasn't able to get to the show, so he ended up taking it back to his house. And he ended up coming to C2E2 the following year. And I kind of reached out to him, still kept in touch with him. I'm like, hey, just want to make sure that the Grundy is still on the table. He goes, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, I'm coming to C2E2. I'm like, I'll take it over there. And he ended up bringing it with and finishing up at the show. And when I picked this up, I was like, man, this is far and above what I expected him to do for me. And it was funny because Jason was standing over Tim. He goes, Tim, I think it's time to wrap it up. Just kept going, just kept laying more stuff on it, kept going into the pipes. It's like, and like he said, he goes just drawing the pipes in the background and all that stuff. That's what he likes to do. It's like he gets detailed in there, like the water, the bricks, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he just kept going to town on it, and Jason was like, goes, "All right, I think you're done, Tim." He goes, so he just kept ignoring him, and he just kept working on it. And he's like, "Well, it's only for Octavio, so it's not like you have to put that much effort into."
Yeah, that's a great piece. Well, and I wanted to share it here, but I blame you for posting such a god awful picture on your Instagram of it, or not your Instagram, your calf. I think this is off your calf.
Yeah, I don't like to post high res pictures on there at times because people do tend to swipe stuff off of there, and
yeah.
So I post the crappy cell phone pics of it sometimes in there. If you catch me on a good day, I'll get a high res copy and post it up there once in a while. But yeah,
that's a killer piece. It's funny you talk about Tim, because I was waiting. Do you guys remember or no, Ben? Is it Ben Lee? He's
Ben Lee,
yeah.
And he was because he's constantly getting pieces from Tim, and every time I've rode the line to get something from Tim, Ben's always been in line, and it's the same thing. He went nuts, went really detailed on like a fast pass. It was a Mary Jane, and I think there's a jukebox and stuff, and it was a full-on commission. And I think it got to the same point. Even Tim handed the piece to Ben, and is like, "This isn't a fast pass. This is a commission."
It's amazing and you don't expect something like that to happen at times. You expect like little quickie ones that he was doing before.
Yeah.
But now it's like, if you catch him at the right time and the character, it just kind of hits what he wants. He'll put the effort into it and he'll make it work. Yeah.
That's the magic of it, right? Is you hit something that the artist is digging on and just goes to town and blows you out of the water, goes way over and above what you expected or what you paid for, but it's something you love and something they love.
Yeah. Well, and on Tim's sale, Byron, if you could grab a Grail Tim Sale piece, what would it be? From which book or anything in mind?
Well, I actually kind of got myself into a bit of a hunt with Tim for a number of years, and it almost became kind of a little bit of a game riding his line, because I went around I don't know how many years with him, because he did these awesome ink wash pieces, and as my collection evolved, I've been on a long stretch of collecting Rocketeer commissions, and so I wanted one from Tim. I thought the character with Tim's style would be just nuts, and every time I went through it, I'd ask Tim, Jason would ask what character, and I'd say, "Oh, Rocketeer," and Tim would be like, "No." He got to the point where it's kind of like a hell no. And one year, he finally said, like, "What is it with the Rocketeer?" I'm like, "I just think it would be really cool in your style." He's like, "I hate to draw him flying." I said, "You don't have to draw him flying. Like, put him on a gargoyle or something." And he did, and he took it on, and that made my year that year at Seattle, just to finally accomplish that with him, and it turned out great. It's one of those things that kind of those poses you see like in a Batman book or something like that. Oh, there you go, you found it.
Yeah, that's nice.
And just that heavy dark against the Rocketeer, and those classic kind of Art Deco-y Gothic lines of the character. And Tim's art just spoke to me. So I think that's one of my top favorite pieces from him, just for what I want for my collection. I mean, the books are, go back and the Hulk Gray. I'd love to get something like when you did the Tin Can Iron Man, like Mark I in there in that big bulky suit. So I'm a bit of an Iron Man guy. I love Daredevil Yellow too. They were all great books. But for me, if I was going to pick something out, this is what I really wanted from Tim, was this. So
yeah, they came out awesome.
And sometimes it's just kind of the thrill of the hunt. And both you guys, it's like, obviously the Long Halloween is going to be most people's, real exposure to to Tim's stuff, but for me, Spider-Man Blue is what put me over the edge with him. I think that, and I'd have to reread most of his work to make a decision. But that book, for some reason, I think is probably my favorite work he's done. So I'm asking myself the question too, if I'd love something from that book. Anything though. Those are all Captain America White. I think Jason talked about the Punisher Black is what his next one should be. And
It should be. You should buy the whole book.
Yeah,
I
your Cap buys a book, eh? Again.
Well, cool guys. Well, we're keeping it pretty casual, and Tim, we got a little art show and tell with Tim, but Byron, what pieces are you sitting on right now that you want to show off? We'll go with you, and then we'll go back to Octavio, and we'll share some good stuff.
I think you got to show off your piece.
Recently. I think the big one for me during the pandemic was the new Iron Man cover there, Iron Man #1 from Mark. I don't have it here to physically show you because it's up on my wall upstairs and it's too big to bring the picture downstairs. But I think I sent you a picture there, right, Cam? You got that one?
Just bringing it up right now.
But this one for me was a big thrill because I mean I've been following Mark's career for years, watching his style evolve, and every time he reaches a new level, you think he couldn't have gotten better, and then he does something that outshines his previous work. And I remember back in the day, again, seeing him and some other ones in Emerald City when you could get on their list for like $300 at Sunday afternoon and get something great from him in a market piece, and you'd be thrilled. And now to see the level of work he's doing just blows me away. So this was a variant for Iron Man #1, the new book with the Alex Ross armor design. And I'm a huge fan of that classic red and gold Iron Man armor. So this just called to me when Ross brought that look back, and with the extra repulsor lighting on it, etc. But that historic look to me, and then seeing Mark do it. I think I reached out to him really early on when he was just starting to post some preliminary sketches of this, and I saw like the face showing up, and I'm like, oh, classic Iron Man, right? And so I reached out and says, you got to tell me what's going on here, man. And I mean, the negotiations started right there. And really, for me, it wasn't a question.
And this isn't your only Brooks Iron Man piece either.
No, it isn't. This is my second Iron Man cover from him. So, heaven forbid Marvel does another book and gives him another cover, because I'm going to have to buy that one too now because I'm starting to trend. But I mean, I won't say no either. But I picked up the cover from the Tony Stark Iron Man book. I think it was #3, and it was a variant cover. I got that in New York. I picked it up from him in New York 2 years ago. Spent the better part of that summer paying it off, but that was a monster piece for me as well.
That's an amazing cover, though.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's got that modern armor with the Hulkbuster armor flying in around it, and kind of with the planet in the background and so forth. It's just
the whole space background on that.
Yeah, it was just gorgeous. So they sit proudly one on top of the other on my wall in my living room. So they're the feature pieces upstairs right now.
Nice.
So, but this piece, I mean, when you see it up close and you see the flame work he's done in there and the texture that's in there that you'll never see in print, but that he spent the time on in it is just amazing. So yeah, there's the other cover there. And the same thing. I mean, I love that Hulkbuster armor, and I love the movie armor. And so to see this one when he was doing it, again, I bought that unfinished at the time, and I got the pleasure of seeing some of the work being completed in process. Mark sent me some in process shots as he was finishing it up. So that was a real thrill for me to have reached out early enough to get a chance at a piece like that.
Yeah, when Byron reaches out to an artist, they're not going to say no to Byron.
Well,
I wish that's the case. There's still a couple who are saying no yet.
What's funny, Byron, because you're, obviously you're a huge Granov fan too. And Audie is such, Iron Man is such an iconic character for him, especially the modern Iron Man. And it's so many of those designs are what we all see now. and it's crazy that you don't have one of his.
Well, I've got a bust piece from him on it that I got at a show, and I through my collecting career over the years, there's a lot of characters I'm fans of, but at the time when they're hot and everything else, I've always been a fan for them. And as they get popular, I don't want to be the same guy chasing the same sketch. You go to an Iron Man guy and you ask for Iron Man, or you go to a Batman guy and ask for Batman. And he's done, 40 of them that day for everybody else. He's like, oh, good Lord, Batman again, And he can draw it with his eyes closed. And they're spectacular, but he's not enjoying it. Maybe he is, but he or she. But it's something that they've been doing all day long, right? And I think that's where my collection ended up going. Was I often chased characters that were less mainstream because of that. Eventually, I'd come around, like with Audie. I have an Iron Man bust from him. I would have loved some of the early design stuff he did, but that went before my budget was big enough to afford it. So, but I've been buying from him for years, and I'll continue to. There was one I was chasing this year. I missed out. I was a couple hours late on one piece I wanted this year, but I'll catch him on the next one. So.
Well, I think what's lost in just the pictures and the scans with Mark and Audie is just how striking the pieces are in person, and with the Mark ones, how big they are.
Oh,
Yes.
like huge.
What's the size of this one, Byron?
Those are, I can tell you actually, if you give me 1 second here. So I just had the dimensions on it here the other day. Up. Just got that one back from the framer. They're both the same, actually, both the same size. And I tell you, I'm glad that I got the new one shipped out to me, because this one was a nightmare to bring back on an airplane from New York. And I mean, my paranoia went through the roof, because you can't bring that into the cabinet. It's so large, right? There's no place it'll fit. I got when I framed them up, we had them measured out at 20 by 25, 26, somewhere in that area. So,
Wow.
Like they're wall power size. They're massive, right?
Yeah.
We got to take that phrase over, so we'll use that today.
Brooks power. It's Brooks power.
It's Brooks power. That's what it is. There's that epic size to it. I had to buy a larger suitcase just to get that thing home. And and I layered in masonite in the suitcase, and I layered the art in another layer of masonite. Probably put me overweight. I had to pay overweight fees on it to get home, just from the wood in there to stabilize it. I didn't want those turkeys at the airport banging this up. The only way I could do it was check it, though. There's no way I was putting that in the postal myself.
I would have been sweating on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carrying that back to the hotel room. I mean, I didn't have a portfolio big enough. So I just had a plastic bag over it, and I had to carry that back through downtown New York. At the end of the day at New York Comic Con, and you're carrying this giant piece of art in a plastic bag down the street, right?
Was it raining too? Wasn't it raining that day? I think
Not that day. It rained that evening. I was just I was just glad it was back in the room at that point.
Well, he had all those Batman covers there too, and I remember looking at all that stuff at Mark's table with you, Byron, and I remember just thinking, oh my God, these are incredible, and the scale is just nuts. But how the hell is he going to get this back? But you did.
I did. I managed to get it back. They graciously offered to ship this one to me because of the pandemic. So I accepted that, and they did a fantastic job on that too. It came in perfect shape. I had no worries, but definitely. Actually, that was one of the funny parts with the first cover, was that he brought out those detective comics, those detective covers. And he did a whole series of them.
Nice.
And I have to admit, I mean, I absolutely love that Iron Man piece. But there was a few of those covers as they were coming up. I'm sitting there, I'm like, can I ask him to shift this over to this piece yet? But, it's like a kid in a candy shop, too much goody stuff,
Well, and I seem to recall, given like the scale and the size of those, they were fairly reasonably priced. They're expensive, obviously, but for
in
what they
today's market,
were,
especially, I mean, it's a very fair pricing. It's something that really becomes an investment piece anyways. I mean, I was reading somewhere the other day there where they're talking about comic art and some of the slab comics and so forth really becoming comparable to other commodities for investment options nowadays, where people are putting their money here. And it's true, this kind of stuff, it's a different type of art than your traditional fine art, but it holds its value just as well, and it's well worth putting the money into it for a very reasonable price right now.
yeah,
I think it's only ever going to go up, so pieces like that.
yeah. Well, and they're infinitely impressive, even if you just want a centerpiece for your mantle or anything like that. But
yeah, I'm not one to ever flip them, but I know that when that stuff's on the wall, if it's if the house is ever burning, I'm stopping inside to grab everything off the wall.
Yeah.
Sure. That's for sure.
Cool. Well, let's just move on. Go to Octavio for one. What do you got for us there, sir?
Well, since Byron brought out a Brooks, I guess I'll show off one of my Brooks, non-Hulk related Brooks. Is this Black Cat, Mark Brooks? Ooh,
Yeah, I love that piece.
This started off as a commission. Well, actually, it was a commission, and then it got turned into a cover. So was able to get through this through Doug, where he guaranteed a sketch for Mark, and I chose C2E2 for my my con, since that's my local con. Unfortunately, Mark wasn't able to get to it at the show, so he ended up taking it home. I was talking to him throughout the whole weekend and everything, and he pretty much was working on a back row the whole show, and then he's like, you know what, I didn't get to your piece. Do you mind if I take it home? And I'm like, no, I don't mind at all. He goes, yeah, I'll just concentrate and take my time with it over there, and you'll be very happy with the results. And I think it was like a month later, Doug ended up sending me a scan. He goes, here's your scan of your Brooks, and then don't say anything, but it's being turned into a cover. So I was like, what? I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, that's actually my first piece that I've got turned into a cover, commission-wise. So I was pretty pumped about that.
And there's no bigger blessing in disguise if you're an art collector than an artist saying, I can't finish your piece this weekend, I'll take it home and do it. Because 90% of the time it ends up being something, whether it's guilt driving it or just, working into the studio, so many times you just come away with something good. It sucks because you want to see something at the show, and that's why we go to grab art, but it's always a blessing in disguise. And then the cover, I posted, this was the modified cover because they did a bunch of different colors for variants.
Yeah, they did the regular one, so that's the virgin cover. Then they ended up doing where Black Cat was in the Spider-Man costume, I believe, the same. So I think there was like 3 or 4 covers to this, 3 different variants for it.
Yeah, that's a great piece.
But yeah, no, it came out amazing. I was like, damn, that's nice.
Mikhail, I wonder, Mikhail, do you have that piece now? I'm just curious. I can't think of which one that is. I know Jay was getting through some of his lists, so I'd be curious to see. Sorry, just reading Mikhail's comments.
Yeah, and then sometimes also it's like, if you commission somebody, it could go the opposite way too. It's like you dread it because it's like, is he going to even finish it? Are they going to forget about it? I'm like, so you don't know. So, but at this point, Mark, he's got a damn good reputation. So I wasn't worried about anything.
Yeah, he's going to get it, and he's going to make it worth a while for you.
Yeah.
When you hear those words, like Cam said earlier, I mean, that's music to your ears. If they say, well, I want to take it home, that's my favorite words at the end of a show when somebody says, hey, I want to take it home. Usually when they say that, you see the rep cringe a little bit because you know he won't be standing over him saying stop. But you know that's a good thing. Them sitting at their own desk with all their tools and taking their time with it. And if they want to do it and they want to spend the time, to me it says that they're digging on the piece too, or you know that they're having some fun with it. So go at it. I mean, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and because one, I think it's always Sunday. Everyone's kind of burnt out anyways, and you know, for most of us, and it's changed obviously with the prices and the whole game's kind of shifted, at least since I started collecting. Like I've had shows where by Sunday you've got 12 pieces already, you know, so it's totally fine. I can wait for the 13th, but not anymore. It seems to be one or two per show. But speaking of that, how obviously conventions seem like they were eons ago, but what's your guys' approach? I've spent time at cons with you guys. I talk to you guys all the time, so I kind of have an idea, but maybe you can explain to some of the folks watching your con approach these days, if it's more volume, more published, more commissioned stuff, or does it vary show to show?
You know what, for me, it's like I keep saying that I want to get more published stuff because I want to stop with commissions, but commissions, I just keep going back to some pieces. It's like I see some artists and I just want to get a commission from them because probably the published stuff, they don't have the character I want. So I try to tell myself, I'm like, this is the year I want to go more published, because commissions are they're getting pricey. Published pieces are still affordable, or depends which kind you want, but you know, I kind of want to leave the commission game, but I still keep getting sucked in every year, get 1, 2, or 3 commissions, and I'm just like, damn it.
Should have bought a cover.
Yeah, I should have.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of the same. I've had that same, as the collection's grown, my tastes have grown, and as I've gotten older too, my pocketbook has grown, so I can afford to get into things where, you know, back in the day when I started, commission was the necessary, because you're doing like a $25 or $100 sketch. I couldn't afford $1,000 page back in the day, so commissions was where it was at, and I love it. And you can get something from an artist you love. But over time, as it's grown, I've kind of taken the same approach. As I want to spend more into the published art, with the provenance of it, and you know, just having something that's there, that's uniquely mine, that was in a book that I loved, and so forth. So I've tried to lean that way, and I think lately I've kind of gotten into that with my bigger spends, as I'm trying to lean those towards published pages like the Iron Man cover and so forth. Just because of the investment that you're putting into it in today's market. But you go to a show and you say, you know what, I'm looking for a published cover or a nice published splash page, and you'll see an artist that you love there, and you know, it all goes out the window, and you're down into commissions with a couple, you know, him, and then her, you know, you see another one, you stop with her, and away you go, and next thing you know, you walk out with 6 commissions that you weren't planning when you walked into the show.
Yeah, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. It seems to be the old con adage too. It's like you walk through those doors and that plan can go out the window within minutes. Well, and I think too, there's kind of a different approach you kind of need to take with different shows. Like when I went to New York a couple years ago, Byron, we were there together. That year, I had some commissions set up with Jorge Fornes and Jorge Molina, and I can't remember. Oh, and Mateo. We've got some great pieces, but for New York, if I would have maybe thought more in advance, that's such a good show to save up to buy a big published piece there, because I found there was a dozen published paintings, covers from European artists you don't get at many shows. Like a lot of debut pieces felt like showed up there. So it almost feels like if you're going to New York, you can kind of shift your target to something published or more published in that direction. Whereas if you're going to Seattle, like we did back in the day, Byron, they always got a really good contingency of artists from all over. and it seemed like such a great commission show versus a published show. And this is just I'm spitballing now, but you can almost take an approach like that.
I had the same experience with New York, and that year, what is this? That's 2018, I guess, was my first year going there. Of all the years I've been going to shows, I'd never made it down to New York. It kind of actually intimidated me, and I just wasn't sure I wanted to make the step down there. I was worried that, I mean, I've always done so well at shows like Emerald City. I've come up with some monster pieces and some absolutely fabulous published art out of Emerald, where the competition, just the sheer number of people, wasn't nearly as high. And so I kind of shied away from New York, thinking, I'm going to go in there with high expectations that I'm not going to get anything. And so coming into 2018, I went down there, and primarily to pick up the Brooks piece was the main reason I went. And I had no expectation of getting much. I'd set up a couple commissions with a couple artists I knew that were going to be there. And then walking through the show, I had no idea. I knew what the guest list was, but everybody else who was, anybody who wasn't a guest was also there. They were just they were at hosted booths upstairs on the main floor or with different publishers and so forth. And, half the people I thought I wouldn't see there, I saw there as well. And it really opened my eyes up to how to approach New York in the future. So, yeah,
San Diego
totally changed the game for me there.
Sorry, Octavio, you said San Diego the same for you?
Oh, yeah, San Diego was just like that as well. No, I'm just talking to Byron because he's expecting people that he wouldn't expect. San Diego was just like that. It's like everybody is there. They don't have a booth. They're just walking around. They're kind of camping out of somebody else's booth, just there for like 2 days or sharing a booth with somebody. They weren't on the guest list. You're just like, oh my God, this guy's here. I'm like, I wish I would have known about this before I went over there to spend my money. I could have came over here.
Yeah. Was it 2017 when Goran Parlov was just hanging out at New York Comic Con? He had art with them.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah, like crazy. Goran for me and tons of other people, he's the top of the mountain, especially if you're like a Punisher fan. And just wasn't advertised, not on the guest list, but had art with them. Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, who's up? Byron, are you up?
Sure.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I'll show you something that I didn't send you over there, just because we got
I think
Octavio on. I don't think you can see it, but behind me, you can see it there. Behind me this is kind of the giant pile of art right now that needs to get organized and sorted. So there's some digging, but let's see if we can get this up there for you, because I don't think Octavio's seen this in person.
No, I saw the picture you sent though.
Yeah. So this is Adi again, since we were talking about him earlier, and this is something I picked up, I think 2017 at Fan Expo Canada in Toronto.
That's right.
It was a piece that he did for Marvel's licensing division. It got used for something. I haven't tracked down exactly what it was used for, but Adi said that they had used it into the licensing division and that's who had commissioned it for him. And so, but just that, that expression on the Hulk's face, the color, the shading and tone work that Adi did on here, and then that crispness, with the kind of contrasted by that kind of watery background, and it all just spoke to me. So, but yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to be with Byron when he picked that up, and I was trying not to be too much of an enabler as you were deciding, because you were already like a few pieces deep at that show, I remember.
Yeah.
And this was an unexpected one.
This was one that, I was, that was the year he was sitting right next to Adam Hughes too. And I was trying for my 14th attempt at Adam's sketch list to get a Rocketeer from Adam. Adam, if he's out there, ever watches this, I still want a Rocketeer, man. And this was sitting on the table with Adi and Tamsin were there, and we were chatting about, we were just flipping through the portfolio, and here is this piece, and I mean, it just hits you right in the face that the power behind it. And so I kind of knew I wanted it right then. I didn't have it in my budget, but I mean, let's be real here. Is the budget I set for any show, I always blow through it. My wife knows it too, so if she watches this, she's good with that too.
I think we all do, Byron. I think we all do.
The budget is never really the budget.
It's just a make-believe number you put to make you feel better.
It's the guilt line, right? That after that's when you start to feel guilty and have to actually second think what you're doing. You're still going to do it, but you actually have to consider it at that point.
Even for like 2017 prices and this piece, looking back on it, it's an absolute no-brainer.
Yeah,
because he had a few paintings in there, and I'd never seen his painted like cover worthy or cover pieces, and it's just striking how crisp body works. Like this piece is so crisp. It's a good scan of it, but just to see it in person, I think that year didn't he have an X23 Wolverine piece?
Yeah, he had that one with the both of them on there. That became a variant cover, and they kind of did the same thing with a couple different costumes when they published it. But yeah, it was that was a fantastic piece, and actually, I mean, the cover pieces too for something like that. Even at that day, it was really, really reasonable, all things considered. And just watching, I mean, people like Adi, Mark, etc. They're no-brainers because that they're just getting better and better. They're always going to be a name in this industry. They're not going to disappear.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, Cam, I'm still upset that you didn't message me and tell me that piece was available, so I could have.
He had about a third of a second before the decision was made. Then it was just all the rationalizing, so he really didn't have much time. I think he was in awe too. He was whispering to me. He was like that, the evil little devil angel on your shoulder, going, "Buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it."
He's like, if you don't buy it, Octavio will buy it. I will tell him right now.
Well, that was Fan Expo 2017, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was such a great show. We had so much fun. We had some epic hauls. We had dinner with Eric Larson one night. It was all around. It was such a fun show. But because Byron and I are working the con virtually for Octavio and our Chicago pals and our New York pals and our Belgian pals, and my phone was just overloaded with pictures from portfolios because Jason had the Kubert portfolios there. Yeah. And I think he had a bunch of stuff that probably not a lot of people knew he was going to have, because I remember there's a ton of great Kubert stuff. And this was, I don't know how long he'd been repping those guys at that time, but I don't think it had been that long.
It was just kind of starting, I think. I mean, they were there with them, and Andy and Adam had brought some stuff with them that year. Actually, no, that might have been the second year he was with them, because I think that was the year I picked up the Justice Society jam piece from Andy was there at that show too, because he had was it that year? I think it was, because I had gotten Andy to do the Green Lantern on that before he was doing more regular commissions through Jason. That was when it was I Don't Want to Do It commission with Andy. But we talked about it, and that's the great thing about being around the shows for those many years is I'd actually been able to connect with him, and I don't have any naive notions that he knew who I was, but he remembered the face, and we had talked about Justice Society before, and when he had worked on the DC Legacies book with his dad, and we'd had some discussions in previous years about father and son businesses, because my profession, I worked with my father as well, and so we just that kind of connected on that level. And so when I brought this to him, he's like, I really don't generally do commissions because everybody's going to want them then. And so the first time I showed it to him, he liked the piece, he liked the layout, but he really wasn't interested. And we started talking another year, another show, and I was like, if you're ever interested, I still got this piece around, and I'd love to get you to do this. And maybe let's talk about it. And it kind of evolved into that, opening that door. And I think I was one of those ones that just the right time and the right piece, and he said yes finally. So I think the year I got back was 2017 because he had it for a full year. That was a 4-page Justice Society spread. And he had it for a whole year there.
When you've done such a good job of playing the long game with some of that stuff, and you have to if you want to land pieces like that and that jam.
You're not going to get the access if you're nattering away at the guy. These guys are busy. Their main job is working for the publisher, whether it's DC, Marvel, Image, whoever. And they have to answer to those guys. When it comes to us buying art or buying a commission from them, we're there on a limited point. We're going to buy one piece, maybe two pieces from them. Some of us will go deeper with artists we love, and we'll be there regularly, and it'll be reflected in our relationship with them. But most of the time, when you deal with an artist, we're a one-off sale, and the other guys are there for for the long term as their clients, and so that published work comes first. Understandably so. And if you think that you're going to get access above it, you're probably going to get pushed to the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
You got to be patient with them and understand, just like you, they got to make a living, and that's their living. Yeah. This is the bonus on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, I think Octavio has another long game piece to show us.
I do. And I know George has... he was talking about it in the chat, but this is my my Jim Chung Flash jam piece that took me 7 years to complete. Speaking of playing the long game.
No kidding. Well worth the wait, though, man.
It was, man. Jim had it there for a while. I think he had it over a year and a half because I left it with him in San Diego, and he took it, and I think it went to 2 different moves with him, and I never worried about it. I just asked him once in a while. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" He goes, "Oh, I know where your piece is at. Don't worry, I haven't lost it." I'm like, "If you lose it, you're gonna have to redo it for me anyways." And he starts laughing. He's like, "Yeah, you're probably right." But that's one of the pieces that I first met Jimmy in 2009, and it was in Chicago. And I got him to do me a Hulk piece there. And I think at that time it was like $150 for the Hulk piece. And then I got that piece from him, and I was like, man, this thing's awesome. I'm like, I wish I could get another piece from him. So the following year, C2E2 started in Chicago, and I saw him there, and I pretty much went up to him, and I wanted to get something. I think a few months before the show, I saw my buddy Armando. He had a piece started like this with Invisible. And I got the idea. I'm like, oh, I'll just make a jam piece of the Flash. And then over the years, I'll see Jimmy. I'll just have him add headshots. Because at that time, it was 2009, 2010. I was like, yeah, Jim seems to be coming every year to Chicago. I'll just see him every year, and he'll just add as he goes along. And I guess that was just kind of the newbie in me still. That's like, some of these artists keep coming to your city every year. Boy, was I wrong. Because I was like, I saw Jim maybe 2010 twice, 2011, and then for 3 years I hadn't seen him. Then I saw him in San Diego. San Diego is kind of a hard show to even get anything out of any artist unless you have deep pockets or you kind of set something up ahead of time. But it's just a crazy, crazy show. I tried, didn't get anything there. Then he came back to Chicago like 2 years after that, got him to add another piece, and then he ended up taking it. I think so I left in San Diego 1 year with him. He had it for a year and a half, and I didn't see him. And then he was coming to Motor City, and David, our buddy, was going to Motor City. I'm like, hey, make sure to pick it up from Jim if he has anything. If he doesn't, tell him not an issue. I'm like, I'll see him at a different show, hopefully. And I'll just kind of wait it out. And he ended up checking in. He didn't have it. Or actually, no, he did have it. He did have it. He added who was that? Reverse Mirror Master that year. And then I didn't see him back for another year. And then I finally found him at Chicago at C2E2. And I'm like, I'm going to close this piece off. I'm like, I'm just going to do it, close it off. And I was contemplating what to do with it. I knew I wanted Central City in the background. And Larry tried to talk me out of it. He goes, no, it's perfect the way it is. If Jim's going to add a Central City or anything in the background, he's going to mess it up. It's not going to look right. And I'm like, nah, Larry. I'm like, I have an idea for it. I'm like, so yeah, I saw Jimmy there and sat down and kind of told him what I wanted. And I told him, like, this is the last time you're going to be seeing me at your table because nobody could get any Copics pieces from you ever again anyway. So, and it's true because at that time when this whole thing started, it's like, yeah, he was doing full figures. And then he shifted because it would take him so long to do any pieces because he's a perfectionist where it would take him forever. So he wouldn't get through a lot of pieces at a show. So he went from full figures to head bust to torsos to head bust to what he's doing now, which is quick little pencils, maybe with pen and ink. And he was still doing Copic pieces for me. And people were like, how are you getting to do Copic pieces from you? I'm like, he must really like me. No, but yeah, I appreciate him still, kind of following through with this little crazy project of mine that, yeah, pretty much 7 years, and the way he kind of closed it out. I kind of wanted to add a little bit more to it, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to stop at that because I think he kind of closed it out and gave it the finishing touches perfectly. I don't want to mess with it anymore. So that's what it is.
That's a great piece. And what we've seen in the last few years, especially with COVID hitting, is lots of artists who normally don't take commissions, taking commissions. Did Jim ever, has he taken like studio commissions in the last few years? Nothing at all.
I think one year in San Diego was the first and only time he's taken a pre-con list. And actually, that year I was supposed to go. I think it was 2010. I was supposed to go to that show, and I didn't. And he ended up taking a list. And
2010.
2010, yeah.
Byron was still in high school in 2010.
I wish.
But yeah, no, that's the only time he's taken any now he takes a list through Doug, but they're like the little bust, but they're loose pencil, loose ink pieces, but they're not as well. Like that 2010 piece was a full Copic. That Spider Woman I ended up buying because Michael was
one of those.
Yeah, he ended up getting on his list and he got it that year. And I ended up buying that piece off Michael. But yeah, I think that was one of the last years he was doing those full Copic rendered pieces.
Chris, that was back in the day. I mean, you go back to 2009, 2010, and you were mentioning earlier where you thought back in those days you'd see the artist every year, and that was just as like the con circuit was really amping up, and it was you could actually rely back in those days on seeing guys at the shows in their regions regularly from year to year, and it changed to where now as we came into COVID. On any given weekend, there'd be 3 or 4 conventions anywhere in North America, and it was getting to be a battle to pull guests into these shows because they were getting pulled for so many different directions that it did become more and more challenging to be able to track down those artists you wanted to see in person, and you'd have to travel a little further afield than your normal kind of circuit of shows for some of these guys because you wouldn't see them for 2 or 3 years in that route.
Yeah,
no, that's true. Yeah, and as soon as all those conventions started popping up every other week, that killed the concert.
Well, that's what changed the nature of the commissions that guys like Jimmy could do and so forth, because there was such high demand for it as well, and then the secondary market just went nuts on some of this stuff too. That it became a difficult thing for them to keep up with, I think, and be able to keep everybody happy. So they had to, kind of change styles, a lot of artists, to be able to provide something for as many people as possible.
When you sit with, we've all seen it. You spend an extended amount of time with any artist at a show, and you see what they're trying to contend with and produce art at the same time. You totally get why so many guys are doing less. Peace out, TC. Good chatting with you. Talk to you
CTC.
soon. But like, you totally understand why they have to go less involved with stuff, and the guys that still do it, it boggles my mind. And I mean, Matteo Scalera's one. I have no idea how he does it. No idea. He does studio quality commissions at shows somehow. He's not the only one, but he's just one of my favorite guys. So it always comes to mind. But it's changed so much, because I think back in the day, you saw what Tony Moore was doing at shows. He was doing those 9x12 like full scene pieces. You saw what Adam Hughes was doing at shows. Mark's doing at shows. Audie's doing at shows. And it's madness. And then what Jimmy was doing at shows. Those days seem to be mostly gone. But at the same time, too, this stuff is accessible. You just have to pay a little more for the studio stuff. So
yeah, there's still there's some amazing stuff coming out of the shows, even with the volume of people going through and everything else. I mean, look at things like what Brian Stelfreeze puts out at a show. I mean, some of the painted work he does, and I mean, he's such a social guy, and to see how he how he interacts and he spends his time, and yet he puts out these amazing painted pieces. He doesn't do he doesn't do thousands of them or hundreds of them at a show, but the ones he does at a show are just, you see this guy sitting on a crappy chair with limited tools, and out comes this masterpiece, and it just blows your mind.
So Byron, is that your segue?
Not necessarily, but I tried to give you an opening.
No, I think that's good. Let's see it.
I don't have. Do you have the picture up? I don't have the original here. In front of the screen. But that one should be going to a framers. I think this was from that same. I think this was 2017. Wasn't it the same year I got the Hulk there?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same year, because that was like you said, that was a monster year at Expo. And this was something I arranged with Brian at the beginning of the show. And again, just that notion that wanting to see Brian's color work on a Rocketeer, and that's all I gave. I just said Rocketeer, and he wouldn't show me anything during the weekend. But if I tried to drift by his table, he'd instantly cover it up if he was working on it. So I had no clue what this was going to be, and he knew I was sneaking, because I was excited to see this. So I try to hover in that area to get a peek over shoulders, and he'd catch me every time. But he put this thing out, on over the course of the weekend, and I mean, his color choice in this, the use of the greens, putting Betty into the shadow of the neck and the purple there, just absolutely. I mean, my jaw hit the floor that weekend. I walked out of that show on a cloud, with the Audi piece, a couple other things. Everything went right. That was one of those shows where everything went right.
Yeah, your haul at that show was probably one of the craziest, because some lists you don't know if you're on, or you don't know if you're going to get the piece. And that show, it seemed like you were hitting on everything. Yeah.
It's one of those few shows where you don't get I always go through that cycle of, if it's a 3 or 4 day show, the first day you're excited because you got on these guys' lists, or you saw this piece that's available and you picked that up this morning. And then Saturday's always kind of the downer day, because you've laid out a bunch of cash, but you don't have a lot in hand yet. And what did I do? And then Sunday is like where it all comes together. That one wasn't one of those downer Saturdays. That show was consistent all the way through.
I rode your coattails for the rest of that weekend for sure, because I think I got a cover and I got a big commission, and that was kind of it.
Didn't you get the Johnson piece there that year, the Dave Johnson? Was that the same show?
Yeah, same show. And I bought a Punisher cover from those guys too.
Because I mean, that's what led me to chase Dave for the
Rockabilly
Batman piece afterwards. Was that Nick Fury Punisher piece that he did for you, and the leather chairs there, telling the war stories. I mean, to me, that's one of the absolute best pieces I saw outside of what I picked up there. I mean, I was really jealous of that piece when I saw it. Like, why didn't I think of something like this? Because this is inspired.
Yeah, it was cool. And I think I got the idea originally. Dave was working on like a studio commission in Calgary, and it was like full on. And I hadn't seen a lot of like studio commissions from Dave, other than mostly just con pieces. Which his con pieces are really good too. They're super tight and this cool stuff. But yeah, that was kind of that was a legendary weekend. Maybe I'm not sure if we'll talk in years' time to see which one was more epic, 2017 or 2019. Epic for different reasons, but Octavio, what's up? What do you got in front of you now?
I thought I had a selfies over your color one, but I don't. I have kind of like a black and white one. I got this one, this black cat. I got this in San Diego. Speaking of doubling up, I managed to double up that year. I wasn't sure how selfies work because it was my first time meeting him at a con. So I ended up putting my name down for a full figure black and white Catwoman, or black cat, I'm sorry. And I asked for a headpiece, colored piece of Mary Jane. And to my surprise, he ended up doing both pieces for me.
It's an embarrassment of riches.
It was, and I think for the price, it was like, I think that full figure black cat was like $150, and the headshot was like $75.
You guys are driving Mikhail nuts right now.
Well, here, I'll show you another one then, since we're talking about Brian, just because it was handy. This was 2019 at Fan Expo. And this was something out of his portfolio. But I mean, to me, this just screams the man with no name. This is, I mean, look at that. That's just pure Clint right there, Yeah. And the color choice, I mean, my screen is making this really bright, but it's a bit of a darker green to see. But I mean, the likeness, the color choice, all the fine detail and line work on that. I mean, you can't go wrong with spending time with Brian. And I mean, he's an awesome guy just to chat with. I could spend the whole show just chatting with him. Never mind looking at what's in his portfolio and finding something like that.
Super nice guy. Yeah. Here, I found the color piece.
Oh, look at that hair. That's incredible. He kills it with the redheads. Always with the redheads.
Well, he did a female Loki for me too a few years back, and that one came out amazing as well.
Yeah.
Did you have the Loki on you? I was just gonna pull that one up.
I do not have that, Cam. You could pull it up. I think that's in another folio.
That Loki, I was, it wasn't that I wasn't a fan of Brian's. He wasn't a guy I really sought much from at shows until I saw that Loki. And it's right here. Lady Loki.
Yeah. I mean, that expression, that color work on the hair, look at that.
Others, yeah, that purple. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, how does he, I don't know how he does. He's a genius, though.
Yeah, I mean, I would love just a peek inside the mind as that comes out, how he decides to bring these colors together, and they always work,
And the crazy part is he's always talking to people, so he could probably paint with his eyes closed because he's just sitting there talking to people and just going to town and just, laying down the colors on top of colors as people are interrupting him. But he's super nice because he'll take the time out to talk to you. It doesn't matter what it is. He'll sit there and he'll talk to you. And then I think same show, I had to pick up a piece for Carlos. He wasn't even done with it, and we stayed I think it was 30 minutes, 40 minutes after the show closed. He told me, pull up a chair. We just sat down, and it was a black and white piece. He was just going over it with the black and just kind of finishing it off. And I was like, for him to stay and do that, I'm like, it's Carlos. I'm like, he didn't need to.
Well, Cam, are you the only one on who didn't have the dubious honor of picking one up from Stelfreeze for Carlos? Because I was at his table. I can't remember how many times I had to go around for Carlos over the years to try and pick one up. But
well, I think at that same show, I was, because I thought I was tasked with getting that one of them. It must have been the Raz Al Ghul piece, but Brian didn't have it with them or didn't have it done.
I think everybody got tasked with picking up that Raz.
I win. I succeeded.
Yeah, it just took Byron's prowess to grab it.
Like I said, you can't say no to Byron.
No, always playing the long game.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, who's do you guys got any more stuff to show?
Yeah, I got a few more over here.
You saw the pile in the back there, right?
Yeah. Well, I promised you guys we'd only be doing this for an hour, and we're already 5 minutes past, so I didn't.
We can keep going a little bit more.
As long as you want, I'm here. Here, I'll show you this one. This one I don't think I've posted on CAF yet. I joined the Alex Rigel game there.
Oh, nice.
Thought, his style, doing like a classic trick. Try to get this whole thing on the screen there for you. And the colors on this and his work, his likenesses for it would kind of fit that 60s vibe. Let's see if I can get you in there with everything, This thing's like 13 by 19, so it's a big one as well. But that was one that came in during just before the pandemic, actually. And, everybody's been kind of chasing his stuff down lately, and he does some incredible work, really reasonably priced, really unique style. So another guy that I've been watching that I think we're going to see around for a while yet.
Yeah, he's been doing some really cool stuff, and a lot of it too.
Yeah, well, he's really quick.
Yeah,
he doesn't take long to get these done. I think I did a Batman piece with him too, and that was the first one I did with him. And I think from when I paid him, I think within less than 48 hours, I had a finished piece, like a scan of it, and I was just blown away.
That's wild.
Hey, I want Cam to show off his pandemic piece he got.
My pandemic piece.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Preface it with Octavio and I collectively were trying to get on one of the big lists that opened up, and Octavio kind of had given me some heads up that this was coming down the pipe. So without him, I probably wouldn't even have tried to get on the list because I wouldn't have been paying attention. So we kind of collectively, I got on the list. Octavio didn't. Somehow the rules for that list, I don't know what they were.
Shady rules, man.
You're buying beer next time we're all together, then.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because apparently the inquiries were. Didn't Spencer say like 500 or something?
I don't know. Something up there.
Long story short, Octavio graciously, we collectively commissioned one piece, and then we said we'd figure it out after. And Octavio graciously allowed me to keep it, or at least keep it until he wants it, which might be eventually. But it is this one from the legend.
Oh man, look at that.
Yeah, well, you guys know that I more than I love Walt and his Ragnarok Thor. I commission a lot of my commissions are Ragnarok Thor. And yeah, it's a dream come true to actually have him do this piece. It's pretty surreal. I've never seen Walt's pieces in person before, I don't think. So yeah, it's kind of blowing my mind. And yeah, it's a great piece. And gonna go in a frame. And I don't know where I'm gonna hang it though. My son gets some pieces framed for his room, but yeah, I don't know. That one's
not one of them, Cam.
Yeah. Well, I try and put like the barbarian stuff, like the hardcore, like muscle guys, all this stuff. Oh, and Dylan's wondering, through Spencer Beck on Facebook, Spencer was dropping, seemed like a big commission list.
Dropped the list at 2 o'clock in the morning. God.
Yeah, at crazy times. And the Walt one, because, Byron, didn't you hop on one right before that?
I hopped on the Alan Davis list.
Ah,
Yeah.
Did you get the piece yet?
I did. I don't know if it's. Let me just see if it's here. I have it here. I just want to see if it's handy for us to show. That's not it.
Because who else was he? Because it was Walt, it was Alan Davis, it was.
No, Alan Davis with Paul.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Alan didn't come through him.
Yeah, I went through Paul Greer. He's a good friend too. So he's repping Alan. But yeah, and Spencer dropped Ramita. Then he dropped Starlin. Then he dropped Simonson.
He did Bagley before that too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think TC got on Bagley. So that's how he got his piece.
It's here. I can't see it quickly. I'd have to spend some time digging through it. But no, I did a classic green arrow with Alan, and just the old curly beard, basically like Cam with a hat, right? So, and that one turned out beautifully. Let's see if I got a screenshot of it here. Not that one.
Brian, was that a pencil only piece, or did he do inks on it too?
On the Davis?
Yeah.
It was pencil only. He would have inked it. It was an option, but honestly,
Yeah, those pencils look nice.
his pencils. There it is. Let's see if I can do a. Can I screenshot on this thing for you?
I got it right here.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Yeah.
His pencils are so beautiful. There's some people, I believe, you really need to see uninked, that you could publish them direct from pencils and be gorgeous. And Alan's one of those guys. There's him. Tom Grummett. I've been working with Tom for years, repping him, and Tom's the same way. If you get a fully penciled piece, it's the same thing. Another guy that surprised me was Ed McGuinness. Ed McGuinness's pencils, if you let him do a rendered pencil for you, is gorgeous. But these type of pieces, you don't want to ink them because you lose that what's the word? You lose the depth, you lose the softness of the pencils, the texture to it, right? Sometimes in the blacks. So this one, I really wanted a pencil piece from Alan just to fully enjoy a full figure piece from him.
And just going back, Byron, and I don't know if you have anything from either of those guys close to you, but Ed McGuinness is killing it these days. He is on fire, and you happen to have your. I'm putting you on the spot here.
He has it laying around. He does.
Well, I have a ton of Ed stuff, and I think the one, if we're talking pencils from Ed, the one that I think has always stood out to me, where he went really over the top, and it's on my Comic Art Fans gallery, was I had him do a Rockabilly Batman for me that was absolutely stellar. I mean, the pencil on that, he went down a rabbit hole on that and kept falling. It's just amazing. But this is my most recent one, which let me get the there we go. Oh, this came out of New York Comic Con last year as well, when it was basically a loose layout at the time. He just kind of had some figures placed, and I knew I wanted something from him, and so we talked about it. He had a Fantastic Four piece there as well, kind of in the same stages, and I thought I love that classic X-Men look. He kind of told me who was going to be where, and I said, let's do it. And what's it going to cost to finish this piece out? And we set a price on it. And I walked away from New York, dropping that money on it, and with nothing in hand at the time, knowing that, again, Ed, play the long game on it, Ed's going to come up with gold. And then he emailed me back in January, and he says, hey, here's your piece, and guess what? You're going to love this. You can't say anything yet, but Marvel's going to use this on a tribute piece as a tribute cover to the Giant Size X-Men book that they're doing, which I think just came out last month. So this became one of the variant covers on the giant size X-Men #1 homage book that they did, where they had every art, had a different artist on every page. And that's the first time in my history as a collector to have a piece that I commissioned turned into a cover. I mean, to have it used as a cover for an homage to such a legendary book, that just sealed the deal for me. That there's no words. This piece isn't ever leaving, because the story, the time I had just sitting with Ed at the show, we chatted for a couple hours at the show there behind this table, and just had a good visit. And this thing came around out of that, and it became published. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that as a collector, really.
No, it does not. And I'll just show off while we're just checking out.
There it is. Yeah. And I mean, so this is I don't know that too many people follow the notion of a rockabilly Batman, but strangely enough, it works really, really well. And over the years, again, you can go to, this is one of those characters, like I said earlier, you can go to an artist who's a Batman artist and isn't going to get bored drawing Batman because they've done 40 of them today. You show them this, and it's white, it's Batman in a t-shirt with a leather jacket and a little bit of a 50s hot rodder vibe to him. And it's amazing to see how you can almost see the inspiration hit when they're looking at the reference for this stuff. And that happened with this one too, is Ed started working on it, and that same notion of, can I take this home, was an instant yes. And well worth any bit of the wait. I mean, you can't pick up the detail, but if you look in the at the pants, the shading in the pants and around the belt buckle, and just the fine pencil work there. I mean, when you think of Ed McGuinness, you think of his work on Batman, Superman. You think of his work now on Avengers and the heavy blacks, etc. I mean, you can see this is Ed, but you don't get to see the texture of his pencils when he's inked. You don't get to see what some of the stuff that he's capable of, that some people have never seen before. That's why I love getting him to do pencil pieces. Then again, I was told last time around I was banned from getting pencil pieces because he spent way too much time on my pencil pieces.
See, they can't say no to you.
Well, and Ed, speaking of guys like Ed who are killing it right now, and guys outside the Inky Knuckle logo, the moniker, because I could talk about our guys all day, but another guy, Byron, that I know you're a big fan of is Sean Crystal.
Yes. Yeah. Sean's done. I love Sean's style with the black and whites that he does. Just the way he uses form, the way he uses the negative space on some pieces. He did a really fantastic Rocketeer for me in my Rocketeer theme. But and over the years, I've had him do a Rockabilly Batman for me. I picked up a really great Harley with the hyenas from him. That, again, the black and whites on it, it's deceptive how well it fits together. Like you see all the heavy blacks, and it works so well with how he's styled the characters, how he's positioned them, how he's used the lighting. There's a lot yet that we can see from Sean.
Oh, that's nice.
It just stands out as a really fantastic piece. You look at those hyenas, how dark they are, but how they set off against the very little line use in the white part of her costume and so forth. The tenderness in her face versus the viciousness in the hyenas, and I think there's so much yet to come from Sean.
I do too. He's doing some of my absolute favorite stuff out there right now.
Yeah. Another one of those guys where every time you see something new from him, it's like, yeah, he's just getting, he's taking it up another step every time,
And leaning into, because Troy talks about it quite often, just leaning into what makes him be who he is stylistically and everything. And I think, because he's up in his game, but it's still very much him with everything he does. He's not stepping outside of who he is. And Can't say enough good stuff about him.
Well, that's some of the benefit when you see these guys, together with their fellow artists as well. That they feed off of each other too, and they force each other to kind of, that whole notion of of sharpening each other's talents is, like, you see Sean with guys like Mateo and so forth, and they're swapping discussion back and forth, and showing each other work and learning from each other and chatting with each other, and they're making each other better in each way. The same thing's happening with Mark and Adi right now. It has been for years. Is they keep kind of leveling each other up, and not competing, but together they're moving their styles forward to new levels because of that influence of their fellow artists that they're kind of working in the same spheres of.
Oh yeah, those two are trying to outdo each other. They don't know it, but technique wise, they're just coming up with some crazy stuff.
Oh
yeah.
Well, I mean, we keep coming back around to, but look at the work that they did on those Tool posters, both Mark and Adi.
Oh yeah,
that was some incredible work.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, I really wasn't I never followed Tool before until they started working on them, and they introduced me to Tool. So now I'm a fan.
Tool's the best. I was kind of the reverse because it was such a cool amalgamation of worlds. I've always been a big fan of Tool, and then seeing the artistic standpoint, artists you actually know doing the album art, and posters and stuff, it's so cool. Yeah. Octavio, you got something else for us?
Yeah, we could just sit in Byron's collection all night, I think. So, all right, you guys know I'm a big fan of Gary Frank, so let me move this way over here. This is a Green Lantern cover.
Oh wow, that is incredible.
Yeah, I ended up getting this off his rep off of eBay back in the day, and it was a bargain. I think it was, going for what covers are going for now. But just his work on the Butcher, the Red Entity, even Hal right there. I think he would be a perfect fit for the Green Lantern if he was ever to do a book with the corpse and all that stuff. Atrocitus is fantastic. Byron, you got to see this in person one of these days.
Yeah, that's something that next time we're together, you got to bring, because I mean, I absolutely love Gary's stuff, and I've always found them hard to be able to get something from, because of the only avenue being through eBay, and it seems to be the pages I want never actually ever show up there, but they seem to end up in collections, and I haven't been able to find a way into getting to those pages that when they come out.
You should have asked, man. I could have got you there. Because all you got to do is reach out to their reps. I have their email.
I've tried in the past, and I've never had good success. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe they just don't, maybe when they see Saskatchewan, they think this is bullshit because a place like that can't exist. I don't know. I can't spell it, so I'm not emailing the guy back.
Yeah, so it's funny because I at that time, I think I won. I got the Hawkman cover. It's like the Atom cover, and I have that one over here too. Let's see if I can bring that one up. I ended up winning that one, and I had reached out to the rep, and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys have any like Green Lantern?" In reality, I wanted the Hulk covers, and those were long gone. But I was just hoping that he would have something hidden away, and so I ended up buying that Hawkman cover, which is where is that? Cam, do you have a picture of it? See if I can find it over here real fast. So I ended up seeing the Hawkman, the Atom cover on eBay, and I ended up buying it. And then, here it is, I found it. And then I asked about Green Lantern, I asked about Hulk, and they had said no, they didn't have any. One had just sold, so I missed out on it. And then a few days later, I got an email from Ann, which is one of his reps, saying like, "Did you still want a Green Lantern cover?" I'm like, yeah, what do you guys have available? And she goes, well, the seller backed out on that Green Lantern cover, and we want to know if you wanted it. And I was like, sure. I'm like, how much? He goes, well, what you paid for the Hawkman cover, it's about the same. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it. So I ended up getting that cover, but this is the first cover I on the Hawkman, the wings.
Yeah,
is amazing.
I can just imagine what he's doing in the on the helmet too, and so like that's just you really can't go wrong with Gary.
Oh no.
Unless you're Carlos.
That's true. And David.
Carlos, yeah. Carlos is forever insulted by how he draws Batman.
It's the eyes for him, I guess.
Yeah. Oh man.
Here, I got another piece. Oh yeah, here, show that piece. So non-Gary Frank related, I know we've been talking about Adam Hughes, and this is my only Adam Hughes piece I've gotten.
Yeah.
It's a female Loki, and funny story about this is this was 2011, C2E2 as well. I had tried the year before, got on his list. I had asked for, I think it was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I had heard that the only way you could get on Adam's list and he picks you is if you pick characters that people don't often choose, or he kind of feels like he wants to draw. So I'm like, I'll pick Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Nobody's gonna ask for that. And I think there was like 4 people that asked for Buffy that year, and I was like, God damn it. So I didn't get picked. Then the following year, 2011, I tried again, and I was just thinking about what character to pick, and I'm like, I'll do female Loki. Well, there was 2 people that had asked for female Loki that year. When Adam was doing this, he posted, I think Allison posted it on Twitter, and she never posted like progress shots on Twitter, or at least back then she didn't. And Paul Greer had walked by his table. He goes, hey, you asked for a Loki, right? I'm like, female Loki? He goes, yeah. I'm like, I think he's working on your female Loki. And I got all excited. I was like, oh, damn, seriously? And sure enough, I went to Twitter and I looked, and then I'm like, but I asked for a full figure. I didn't ask for like a headshot. I'm like, still, it doesn't matter. I'll take it. And I responded to the tweet. I'm like, damn, that looks awesome. I'm like, I asked for a Loki. I hope this is mine. And exclamation point, whatever. So then I went to the table, and and he was working on it, and I was talking. And then I came up to Allison, and I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. I'm like, is that mine? And she's like, no, it's not yours. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, and she felt bad, and then Adam felt bad about it, that they ended up doing my request as well. So I kind of lucked into that. And Allison goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I never post stuff on Twitter. I'm like, and I did it, and I'm like, I'm sorry to get your hopes all up. I'm like, no, it's okay. Don't worry about it. She goes, no. Adam's like, I'll do your request as well. I'm like, don't worry. Stop by tomorrow. I'll have it done. I'm like, oh, you don't have to do that. He goes, no, it's okay. So I ended up coming out with a piece from Adam, I think on my second try, I think it was.
I hate you. I hate you, man. I've tried for Adam for many, many years. And the worst part about it is I shot myself in the foot on it early on. Back in the day, I was at Star Wars Celebration 3 in Indianapolis. They had this little art room there on the side of the convention. But before the art posters and everything at the celebration shows became a thing, a big thing, it was starting to ramp up at that show. And Adam and Allison were sitting there. And I discovered the art room on Sunday morning of the show because it was so hidden. It really wasn't well signed at the time. And it was, and I was walking around and I saw Adam had his poster out for the show. And, Allison says to me, he has time for commissions if you want. He's got nothing left for today to do. So if you're interested, they're like $400. And here's me looking at my budget and having spent all weekend. I said, you know what? I don't know. Let me think about it. And this is before, I had any brains in my head, apparently, because anytime I've ever tried after that, yeah, sure, I've gotten on the list, but I never got picked. But in the day, it was a smaller budget. $400 was a lot, and I was at the end of my rope for that show, and I missed out because I didn't pull the trigger when I should have.
Man.
And lo and behold, here he is years later, and it's damn near impossible to get something. But I'm gonna keep trying.
Yeah, you might as well, because even at increased rates for some of these guys, add them too, because the rates are going up, and as they should. I mean, these guys are huge demand. But even with like the spike in rates, because Fan Expo, I think, was the last time I tried.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what those pieces were, but yeah, the number of requests that he had was just insane.
And they're smaller size too. They're not as big anymore right now.
Yeah, I thought they were like smaller, 8 by 10
or something like that now, or something.
But Byron, he has a Patreon page. If you join there, I think you get picked. I think for a drawing. I think
that might be worth a shot.
Well, it seems Patreon seems to be the way to go. Lots of artists, artists are on there, and there's some pretty cool stuff. And it's good too, because it supports these guys who are doing such crazy work. But
Hawkman, I'll show you one last thing here today. Have we got time yet, Cam? Or
this will be. I was just going to give you guys. This was going to be last call. Well, we don't need to go through everything. We'll save it for more con stories and art now. But let's go one more final for each.
One more, and you might have a scan. I don't. It was mail today, so I got something from these guys called Inky Knuckles. Shit out to people, and ended up with cover I've been waiting on for a while here from Inky Knuckles alum Zafino. So
nice.
There's one. I can't get this thing lined up with the cover, but I mean, speaking of Hawkman, I have to show this off. I mean, you look at the warrior here with the mace, the battle scars, etc. But you look at the battle worn fatigue on the face as well. I mean, this just spoke to me when I saw it. So I reached out to Cam early on when this one was published, and we were talking about it. And as Gerardo was doing his run of covers on Hawkman, and I knew instantly I wanted a piece from him. So this showed up today, and I mean, armored up like all like I would want to see a piece like this come from. So thanks, Cam. Safe and sound. Really happy about that. That's going to head off to the framers here right away.
I'm glad it showed up. I actually you're probably driving Mel crazy, because Mel has a Avengers cover coming his way this week as well. So he's probably.
Oh, don't worry, Mel. It's going to arrive safe and sound. He packed this thing up well. It's armored well, so it's well worth the wait, buddy.
I don't know where I put that scan. Yet, do you remember what issue that was, Byron?
That's 20.
I have it somewhere here. It's
24.
No, it's not on there, is it? I think this was his third that he did. So he had
right?
He had the 2 action shots, and then there was this one. This, I think, was the third one he did.
I think it was 25, 26, and 27. So that might be 27, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'll have to look it up.
We still have one Hawkman cover available. Byron got that one, and Gerardo is currently clutching the other one.
That one. That's that one. I want that one if he wants to put that one up. Well, that's the one we started talking about, right, at the beginning. That didn't go for sale.
Yeah, I think he's had some pretty hefty offers yet, but nothing's come to fruition yet. But yeah, that piece, Gerardo's work's always so cool, and usually it's rare that I ship stuff to you, Byron, because usually I just anytime I'm heading back home to Saskatchewan, we meet up, and But I was getting a little antsy, and I'm like, I think Byron probably needs this in his possession.
I was needing an art fix anyways. I was just at that point where I was looking for an art fix, and I knew that we wouldn't be getting to our traditional, coffee house art shows here anytime soon in the light of this COVID stuff. So I figured, I was just about to push the button to say, "Hey, Cam, you got that there? Can you shoot that to me?"
Wow, yeah, it was. I'm glad it made it, and good timing too. I was hoping it would get to you before the show, but yeah, I'm glad you showed that off. Actually, Gerardo, I was chatting with him a bit this week, and yeah, he's plugging away. He's got commissions, he's got interiors, he's got covers that he's doing. So I think he's going strong now. But quarantine, I think, hit him just as hard as it hit all of us. I think trying to stay creative and stay productive is always a challenge, but yeah, he's been going strong. So.
Well, it's been a hard year for a lot of us, and I'm glad to hear that he's getting back up and running down there. So, I mean, aside from this, but please send our greetings down to him because I miss hanging out with that dude.
Yeah, it was Fan Expo was a blast. That was pretty epic. Hopefully, we'll get him to Canada or the Western Swing one of these times. I was actually bugging him about that yesterday too. But I think as soon as things can open up and everything, I think we'll be good to go. Octavio, you got one final piece?
Yeah, it's fitting that this is on a Marvel board, but it's my my Batman from the Master of Paint, Mr. Gabriel Delato. Great story with this one. My good buddy George Middleton over in the UK. He's the one responsible for me having this piece. It seems that he doubled up on a commission when Gabe was at London by accident. So he kindly offered up a spot and ended up being this Batman piece. Actually, it was supposed to be Spider-Man, but then he ended up taking the Spider-Man piece. And I gladly took this Batman piece off his hands. So very fortunate that happened the way it did, and forever grateful for George.
This is one of those things where you didn't get to pick the character, nothing.
No, I went in blind.
I have a really important question for you here on this piece.
Yep.
Why isn't that thing in a frame on your wall?
I have kids, Byron, and they are crazy. And I don't trust anything on the wall.
Take it higher.
No, Byron, you don't understand.
The kids doodle on the back of it, Byron.
Oh, so they're doing the coloring there.
No. I do plan to get it framed, but not just yet. So
I'm just busting on you, brother.
Yeah, no, I can't trust these kids, man. Can't trust them.
Well, I think Gabe's covers are one thing, but this is a full-on cover, and this is probably the, I don't know. I think this is the nicest commission I've ever seen from him, for sure. So, and it's ironic with all our Bat friends that the Hulk guy is the one who ends up with this.
That's right. I show it to Carlos whenever I can.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we'll call it good there, and we'll be seeing more from these guys and others. I think we're probably going to do every second Wednesday. Troy's going to interview someone, artist on artist chats, and then probably every other Wednesday will be maybe some collecting, some show and tell, and we'll get into more stories. That was pretty awesome, guys, chatting with you. And I know we've got plenty more that we could touch on, but some more stories, some more art, but we'll get into that later. One thing Troy always does, and I'm putting you guys on the spot, but what are you guys reading right now? Either what are you reading or what are you chasing for art right now? You can pick one or pick both.
Man, I've been stuck on these claim sales at Torpedo Comics, man. It's killing me because I'm not buying art, so I've been buying a lot of comic books. But seriously, I'm reading it. I'm liking that Thor by Donny Cates. That's a great read. You know, not independent like you guys always choose, but that Thor is pretty good. And of course, Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, and well, speaking of Immortal Hulk, some Inky Knuckles news. with that coming up. So,
Did you find out what issue he's doing?
I can't remember. He sent me some teases the other day, though.
All right, well,
So
I'll buy them.
Are you chasing any art, Octavio, right now?
No, it's been quiet on the art front. The only two pieces I've gotten this year, or three, has been that Magnola from the eBay sketches he's been doing.
Yep.
I finally got a Magnola piece earlier this year, and that Why the Last Man page that you were able to point to me in my direction. But it's been a slow art year this year.
Yeah.
Because I was saving up all my money for San Diego, but then, the COVID hit and canceled that show. So just continue saving, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's good. You'll have a big budget when cons finally show back up and come out guns blazing. How about you, Byron? Art you're chasing or books you're reading?
Oh, books I'm reading. I'm making the weekly run to support my local comic shops, etc. But I'll tell you, most of it is piling up on me right now. I'm having a hard time with reading with all the COVID stuff going on, and having a hard time focusing on reading. So I have to do a bit of catching up on that. But art I'm chasing, I got a couple of gems in the works. I got a piece coming up. I heard the other day I should be seeing something soon from good buddy and fellow Finhead Stefan Roux. He's working on a piece for me.
Legendary Stefan Roux,
with the old flying boats and so forth, and
awesome.
We got something going on there. I've seen some previews on it, and I'm just itching to see how it all comes out. So I've already got a spot picked out for it on the wall, and I don't even know what it looks like yet to finish. But so that one's kind of got my interest perked right now, and I'm waiting on that. And there's another one coming from hopefully coming from Italy, though I haven't heard a lot of movement on it yet. But I got a little piece in with the master coming from over there at some point. And then I'm waiting on Chris Stevens' list right now. I want his list to finish up apparently before the end of the year, I'm told. So there's going to be a full color Mr. Miracle coming from him. So nice. I think he's going to have some fun with that. And then I've got I've got this piece from this Zafino guy coming too. I'm waiting on. So there's one there, and that one I think we gave him a couple of choices and left it as artist choice as to what to pick. So I'm kind of waiting to see what he's going to pick on that one.
Well, yeah, because I think I had given him the request back when the list opened up, and then I told him it was for you, and he was debating which direction to go because he knows you to be the collector of a certain character, but he liked the choices to say the least. So that's good. So
I got that sense that either way he's going to be inspired by it. So I just want him to have fun. Pick whatever one he's going to have the most fun with and enjoy it. So that's on the horizon as well, and looking to see what he does there. So I got a few things to look forward to as we get into the winter and the cold months here.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we need. The art fix is huge through the winters, especially the quarantine winters. But yeah, it sounds like you are not having a slow art year.
It has been probably my most expensive art year to date.
Well, when you're pulling down covers and commission and like paintings the way you are, no, that's awesome. I'm excited to see those.
That old prairie saying, make hay while the sun shines, right? And it's available. If you get a list like Alan Davis come up or Zafino or these guys, you got to jump on it. The chance isn't always going to be there. So, this year I looked at it and said, I'm not going on these trips. I ain't traveling personally for vacations anywhere. So I've got a little extra money, and I'm going to take a step at a few of these that I normally wouldn't have dove so deep into some of these pieces this year, but it's because of COVID I can do it.
Yeah, we're not spending thousands of dollars on $9 Starbucks and $12 mini pizzas at cons. We can
Yeah.
buy a few more pieces right now. So
Exactly.
cool. Well, I've got the Walt piece, but I'm trying to think. I have a few outstanding commissions. I think I've hopped on a few lists with our guys, trying to get some stuff from our group. But I'm reading. Actually, I've been reading a lot more lately. Jesse Lonergan, Hedra. He's got Planet Paradise coming up soon. It's all his. Planet Paradise, I think, has dialogue, but it's you guys should pick this up. It's just a one-off image book, all images, no dialogue, just really cool stuff. Jesse's stuff is amazing.
Interesting.
Then Michael Fife's Copra. I really like his stuff because it feels like he's having a hell of a good time doing it. So this is a lot of fun. I like a lot of what Michael's putting out right now. And then our pal Jason Kim and I have been talking a bit, and I think he recommended Jacques Tardy's books to me a while back. I just picked this one up this week. I haven't read it yet, but yeah, I'm hitting up the European section at the comic book store quite steady. So yeah, I've got lots of good books to read.
That's great that you have a European section at your store.
Yeah, well,
Fantastic shop there in Calgary.
yeah, Another Dimension's good, and it's crazy. There's one of three people I run into every time I'm in there. Riley Rossmo, Troy Nixie, or Ryan Sherwood. Every time I'm in there, I run into one of those three legends. So it's pretty awesome. But guys, thanks again for doing this. Yeah, well, he was. I extended the invite, but I think he was a little busy with work today. So, but I'm sure he'll hop on.
He's alive. Yeah, I haven't heard from him in a while. So.
Yeah, he's been a little quiet. I see he's on here though, man. You got to step up your game a little bit, Sherwood.
He's chatting like crazy, bro.
Awesome, guys. Well, thanks again, and yeah, we'll do this again soon. It was a great time, great collections, and thanks for everyone who hopped on. It was another blast. So, yeah, everyone, have a great night.
Thanks for having us.
We'll see you, Ryan.
See you guys. Thanks a lot.